Thank you for coming to another one of my videos. Today's video, we're going to discuss mistakes foreigners make when they first move to Japan or while they live here. This is only part one, and I will come back and revisit this as I come up with more ideas. Sit back and enjoy. The economy isn't good right now. When I first got here, it was like 120 yen to every dollar, and now it's gone up to about 150. I've literally watched products go up in 30, maybe 35% in cost within a matter of a year. Like, I don't want to listen to Americans talk about how expensive things are when there's really nothing to blame. No one's getting any raises. And I know alcoholism people's in an all-time high to have to deal with the stress of not being able to pay for shit. Next is government and or bureaucracy. There's nothing like an oversized, overinflated East Asian government. I don't care if it's China, Korea, Taiwan, even going down to the Philippines. They love having these huge governments. Great example of the bureaucracy is this. So if you want to move out of the prefecture that you're in, or even to the house that's literally right next door from you, you have to get moving out permission paperwork. So what I mean by this is like, okay, I moved next door. Okay, cool. I just changed my residence. What's up? Wrong. You're not done yet. Before you go change anything, before you move out, even if it's one house over, you have to go to your local city hall, get a piece of paper, say you want to move to the house next to you, sit there for a half hour as it's shuffled around to about 20 different people, and then they tell you get this paper approved. They can ban you from moving if you don't have the correct paperwork. Also, I recommend buying new things instead of used shit, like a bicycle or a car, for example. This is why the Japanese people only own primarily new things. Even giving a bicycle to a friend as a present, you have to go to the local police box and get a piece of paper signed and verify that he's your friend somehow and verify all this other stuff. There's licenses for everything here. Another part of the bureaucracy is the tax situation. There's no flat tax in this country. Your taxes are based off of what you made last year. And then beyond that, there's nothing like going to your local city hall, even in the countryside, and you see somebody with a $1,000 watch on, driving an expensive S-Class Mercedes, while you are struggling. Even Japanese are struggling. The last part of the bureaucracy is the Hanko stamp. I understand that it might be culturally significant for them, but I've had conversation with my wife about this. It'd be so much easier to steal someone's identity instead of just signing a name. Just steal their Hanko stamp. This is a two-parter leading into rent and dealing with loneliness or other weirdo foreigners. So why is this a mistake? I'm going to be honest with you. Rent in Japan is actually a lot better than America. It will always be a lot cheaper because the cost of houses tend to decline as they get older. But like you notice in this picture, this apartment is empty, which leads to my next part about this, about making it a mistake. Loneliness. It's a serious problem here. I don't care if you're going to be in Tokyo or the countryside. Tokyo, they're predicting to hit 100 million people and be the most dense populated area in the entire world. But when I lived in Tokyo, it's incredibly lonely. So, how I counteracted that, I was prepared for it. I lived in a guest house, even in my 30s, but I didn't stay in there for years. I stayed in there for a few months, then I got out of there. Loneliness is probably a silent killer in this country, unfortunately. You need to have friends so you can go out and do things, not just that, so you just don't go ape shit. I had a mental breakdown here probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, just sitting around being lonely. I work in the countryside. Getting drunk and staring at the rice field is not good for anyone's mental health. No one's around. So, like I said before, I recommend you find a group of either foreigners or Japanese people and go hang out with them. Like I said, I moved into a guest house when I first got here before I got married. But I'm currently ALTing in the countryside because of the economy. Another thing you can do is get roommates. Even to have somebody around helps a lot. But a good way to counteract this, because most of your foreigner friends are going to move back to their home country, learning Japanese if you're planning on being here for the long haul. I'd really recommend it. You can make friends, drive, watch TV, and enjoy yourself more. This next one, I'm going to make it quick. Weirdo foreigners that you might need to avoid. A big reason they're weird and act the way they do is because the vast majority of them are not going to be here longer than a year. And if they get in trouble, they could just screw off and go back to their home countries. Lack of better words, there's a lot of shitheads that move to Japan, preferably Tokyo. So travel outside of Tokyo and enjoy the real Japan. Last section of this I'm going to talk about is working in Japan. I'm not going to say you're going to be a second class citizen in this country, but I am going to say Japan is for the Japanese. And it should be. I don't care how much the economy shrinks or their want to open the borders to allow foreign workers in. It's not going to be a open the floodgates situation like it was in Europe, North America, and places like that. And also, it would never work. The Japanese would nitpick them to the point in which they would pull their hair out and say, screw this, I'm out, I don't want to deal with the Japanese. That's how they've been successful for so long. There was a term that they used before the white man or any other foreigners first stepped foot on this beautiful island nation called Sakoku. It means chained country. And so for hundreds of years, they had the ability to iron out everything and look at each other. And if they pissed each other off, they gave each other the look of death and behavior changed. So because of that, non-homogeneous Japan would never work. Foreigners would get annoyed and fuck off back to their home countries real quick. This is all satire, but true at the same time. You might think I'm bitter and hate living here. It's the exact opposite. I love living here. There's a lot of things I wish would change, but then the vast majority of it I don't want to change. Remember, this is probably just going to be part one, and I will revisit this topic later. Duke it out in the comments. Give me suggestions. Do what you got to do. And if you're a foreigner that loves living here, thumbs up to you, and I got a strong 0 pineapple for you during this winter season. I know this video might seem vague, but this is not Japan story time. That'll come later in part 2. Enjoy it. Have a nice day. Sayonara.